Mitchell Funeral Home appreciates the trust and confidence placed in them and will continue to enhance their services so as to serve you better.
All right.
870-246-2611. That's 870-246.
How long you gonna stay? You gonna stay for the first hour? Okay. We'll keep you for the first hour.
Don't wait till we're needed. Call us now. Let's walk through history. 870-246-2611. It's quality you can appreciate and service you can depend on at Mitchell Funeral Home.
Fill your home for the holidays with bedrock mattress and more. Bundle and save for every room in your home. Package deals just in time for the holidays. Our first bundle starting at $5.98. Perfect for a dorm room. Bundle deal 2, only $15.99. Enough to fill your first apartment. And fill your home with our third bundle starting at only $24.99. Come get these deals while they last. Special pricing going on now through the end of the year. Celebrate this
Yeah, you can just pull that down. You can put the headsets on in case we get a call. You don't need them right now. But if we get a call, you'll need to have them on just in case. Hey, Jackie, how you doing? Hey, Burley. Thanks for joining the show.
I ain't even tag. I need to tag you in here.
Yeah, it already came up. It already came up.
Or call out a toll-free number, 1-877-BB1. Diapers, pull-ups, hospital beds, wheelchairs, Simply Fit, diabetic supplies, underpants, and more. Your durable medical supply center.
Hey friends, Father's Day is right around the corner, and Coleman's Dynamic Products is offering a dynamic gift just for Dad. Pick 6 for Dad. Any 6 items in my product line. Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub, Dust, Juice, Nuts, Batter, you name it, all for only $29.95 plus shipping and handling. Upgrade to Pick 10 for only $39.95. Pick 6 for Dad. You must call 615-554-0568 to get this dynamic Father's Day special. Dad and you will be glad you did. Each purchase receives a Coleman's Dynamic downloadable cookbook. We want to say Happy Father's Day for all the great fathers out there. And while you enjoy your day, don't forget to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, with Coleman's Dynamic product. Pick 6 or pick 10. You must call 615-554-0568 to get this dynamic Father's Day special.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert.
Hey, what's happening, people? It's Friday. It's booklist Friday. We'll go over some of the books that are on my book list. I kind of got y'all perked up last week when I talked about the Valley of the Dry Bones and from Babylon to Timbuktu, didn't it? We'll kind of review those this week. We've got some others. We got 2 more that are from my book list, and I tell people that these are the books that I read that launched me on my journey to mental freedom, okay? There are plenty of others out there you can read, but we talked about those books, and we'll talk about those today as well. We've also got a special guest in studio. Roderick Talley is in studio. And I'm just checking to see if anybody following him. This brother over the last year has been through hell. And just to give you an idea, who says you can't make a miracle out of a mess? And that's what he's attempting to do. We'll talk to him here in just a moment as well. I will tell you all, as a matter of fact, I posted something on Facebook about an hour ago, and it said it's not cancer. And I will, after Black Facts, I will tell you what that means, because let me just say, it's been a difficult 2 weeks for me. Okay? So I'll explain all of that, and thank you all for all your love and your high-fiving and all of those things. But I'll explain that here in just a moment. So in the meantime, since we got a guest, let's go ahead and jump into Black Facts.
Facts are our culture, our history, our people.
Y'all know I love doing Black Facts because I tell people all the time, the key to our salvation, the key to our freedom is freeing our minds first. You know, the Pointer Sisters had a song a while back that was probably before some of you all's time called "Free Your Mind, Your Ass Will Follow." You know what I'm saying? That's just, once you free your mind, everything else changes. Your whole perspective on life changes. I'm a living witness. I've been there. I've done that. And every day I'm constantly freeing my mind. And that's why we do Black Focus. So this is from Think Progress. Although it's a white website, I thought it was fascinating that I would add this today to our Black Facts, okay? Denial of racist history isn't really in the past. It lives in the present, too. A slave ship's discovery overlaps with the Trump administration's refusal to honor Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. Two desperate stories this week expose America's past and present inability to come to grips with its racist heritage. The Alabama Historical Commission this week announced its discovery of the Clotilda, the last known ship to import slaves from Africa to the United States. Now, by the way, if you follow Black Focus, we've talked about the Clotilda. I'm just saying. Or if you just go out on my wall, you'll see that story. Anyway, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said the Trump administration would not move ahead with plans to replace the image of Andrew Jackson, the most racist president in the history of America. I just put that in there, okay? Although y'all know it's true. And on the $20 bill with the black abolitionist and former slave Harriet Tubman. Taken individually, these stories could easily pass as unrelated items in the daily stream of current events. But that would be a mistake. The two stories, if read in sequence, offer insights across a shameful century of American history that illuminates the hidden racial deceit of our nation's past and the willfulness of modern-day public officials to perpetuate it into the future. A story published by the National Geographic Society told of the remains of the Clotilda, a 19th century schooner. After an extensive year-long search in the murky waters of the U.S. Gulf Coast, researchers and archaeologists from Alabama, and with the help of the National Geological Survey, said on Wednesday that they were confident the wreckage was from the vessel that traveled from Benin, Africa, on the sea journey to Mobile, Alabama, between February and July 1860. Human cargo aboard the Clotilda, in other words, black people, slaves, or let me take that back, not slaves, people who had been kings and queens and princesses, builders and architects and scientists and doctors, were the cargo of the Clotilda, was thought to have been the final shipment of an estimated 389,000 Africans sold into bondage in the United States during the transatlantic slave trade from the early 1600s to 1860. Although thousands of ships made the journey, it has become known as the Middle Passage. Very few slave shipwrecks have ever been found. Indeed, the absence of the wreckage has made it conveniently easy for some Alabamians and other historians to refute the oral histories of enslaved descendants who have long held onto their story as told by the ancestors of a harrowing journey to America. In addition, descendants of the Africans who came aboard the Clotilda have faced poverty and discrimination, even as they maintain that their tight-knit community north of Mobile, called Africatown, had historic roots. Descendants of the Clotilda survivors have dreamed of this discovery for generations. Lisa Jones, executive director of the Alabama Historical Commission and the state historical preservation officer, told National Geographic in an online article, "We're thrilled to announce that their dream has finally come true." Frederick Hebert, archaeologist in residence at the National Geographic Society, said in the article that the discovery of the ship's remains removes any doubt about what residents of Africatown have long contended, but rarely acknowledged outside their community. The discovery of the Clotilda sheds new light on a lost chapter in American history, Hebert said. This finding is also a critical piece of the story of Africatown, which was built by the resilient descendants of America's last slave ship. Perhaps the most interesting and yet appalling part of the Clotilda's story is that it set sail from Africa more than a half a century after the importation of slaves had been banned in the United States. Let me read that again. Perhaps the most interesting and yet appalling part of the Clotilda story is that it set sail from Africa more than a half a century after the importation of slaves had been banned in the United States. So what that says is that although the United States said they had banned slavery, for 50 more years, they were still enslaving Africans. As National Geographic reported, an affluent Mobile businessman and shipbuilder wagered several northern businessmen $1,000 that he could smuggle a cargo of Africans into Alabama in contravention of federal law. After successfully doing so, the ship's captain burned the Clotilda to hide the evidence of the crime, allowing deniers to claim it never happened. Now that refutable evidence of what remains of the destroyed vessel has surfaced. The sordid history is undeniable. To be sure, history can't be repressed forever. In other words, truth crushed to earth will always rise. Unfortunately, that's not a lesson embraced by the Trump administration. Around the same time as history was revealing itself in Alabama this week, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said the administration would move forward with the planned redesign of the $20 bill, replacing Mr. Racist President Andrew Jackson with black female abolitionist and former slave Harriet Tubman. During the Obama administration, Treasury officials conducted a highly visible campaign before then Treasury Secretary Jacob Lew announced a plan to put Tubman's image on U.S. banknotes in 2020. But at a congressional hearing on Wednesday, Mnuchin announced that the administration had put a screeching halt to plans to honor Tubman, allegedly to protect the security of U.S. currency. The primary reason we have looked at redesigning the currency is for counterfeiting issues, Mnuchin said. Based on this, the $20 bill will now not come out until 2028. The $10 bill and the $50 bill will come out with new features beforehand. But that's obviously not true, since Treasury is not moving ahead with replacing the $10 bill and the $50 bills and delaying changes to the $20 bill until 2026, well after Trump is out of office. It's a decision that can and should be widely condemned as a reflection of the administration's racist eagerness to glorify a slave-holding president and its reluctance to put a black woman's portrait on U.S. currency during its tenure in the White House. In other words, a contemporary continuation of historical denial. And that's our Black Fact for today.
Focus Radio, for more dynamic Black facts, our culture, our history, our people, on joinairradio.com.
All right, so I'm thrilled that they're talking about the Clotilda. I did the Clotilda Black Fact. I know it had to be 6 months ago, okay, when this story first surfaced. All right, so I'm thrilled that they're finally talking about it. But I think with the Clotilda's resurfacing, you know, they attempted to bury the Clotilda. But as I said, truth crushed to earth will always rise. And what you're seeing around the country, what you're seeing around the nation, that which they call Facebook has been a harbinger of truth to some extent, because many of you all get most of your black history from Facebook. And no matter where you get it from, the fact of the matter that you're getting it, and the fact of the matter that many of you who would deny it prior are beginning to say, wait a minute, How could this happen? And the more that we get asking those questions, why is this happening? How could this happen? The faster that we will be on our road to true independence and freedom. Which brings me to my guest. Okay? My guest, Roderick Talley, has been on the show before. We had Roderick a few months ago where he had just experienced the horrific break-in and destruction of his property and arrest by the Little Rock Police Department. Many people called Roderick a nut at the time. Many of you said it was Roderick's fault because the police violated his civil rights. Again, I tell you all the time that if you want to live in this country, then you ought to understand the rules by which you're governed. So if you don't have a constitution, if you never read the Constitution, then you will call Roderick an idiot. You will blame Roderick for police abusing his civil rights. I, on this show, along with many others, we didn't do that because we understand what civil rights. In fact, we were one of the first shows to put Roderick on. Even some people say, well, why are you putting him on? Man, I wouldn't put him on. That guy's a crook. Well, today, Roderick Talley sits in front of me. He's smiling. I remember when you came last time, man. You had that black man stress look. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I was definitely stressed. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you had that black man stress look on. We all know that look.
Yes,
We've all had it.
Yes, sir.
But today you're smiling, and I want to welcome to the mic my friend, Roderick Talley. Hey, Roderick, how you doing?
How's it going, Mr. Collins?
It is going fantastic. It is good to see you.
Yes, sir.
I know you've been through some trials and tribulations over the last year or so.
Yes, sir.
But as I say, out of a mess comes a miracle.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay?
sir. Yes, sir.
That's one of my sayings. Out of a mess comes a miracle.
Yes, sir.
You see, when you talk about Jesus and all the things that he went through, born in a manger, chased, that was a mess, but then he was a miracle.
Yes, sir.
You see. So, Roderick, why are you at my show today? Why are you taking up my time?
Yeah, I was taking up your time. Yesterday I made an announcement that I'm going to run for state representative for 36th district, which actually includes this area here that we're in. I'm running. I want to let people know I'm running, and I don't have much political experience, if any, in regards to politics. But I'm from the community. I represent the community from not just the individuals that live within a certain wealth. I represent the rest of the community, that the poverty-stricken community, the people that are living check to check. Some of them don't get a check. I represent those people that know what it's like to struggle and to just try to survive. The forgotten people, for the most part, I like to say, because nobody seems to. People talk about those people when they want their help or when it's election time, but throughout the year, we don't see those people. So I wanted to be a representation of those people, someone that's not afraid to speak up for those people, someone that's not afraid to go talk to those people, and someone that those people could relate to. And I just feel like this was like the timing just was perfect. I don't want anybody to think that this isn't genuine. I don't think, some people may question it, but for those that do question how genuine I am, like you said, not even this last year, but probably the last 2 or 3 years, and even before that, it's been trying times, but on the end of sacrificing for the people here in Little Rock, a place that I'm not originally from, but I've called home for the past 10 years. I've been sleeping on couches, floors, sacrificing my time, showing up at court dates, just trying to support this community of people who feel like without support there is no hope. And I don't think, I'm not for sure, but many of the politicians haven't had to deal with the situations that the less fortunate people have to deal with until you've been in one of those courtrooms where you're having to fight for your freedom, or just being able to support someone else that's fighting for their freedom. For someone to be able to look back and see that there's a familiar face back there, sometimes is all the motivation that a person needs to fight. And I've been glad to be that person, even at times where it probably was negative on me as far as, the people that were in that courtroom looking at me. I knew it made them feel good to know that I was there, and for people to know my story and see all the things that I come from. Those that like to say, well, I seen a guy yesterday come in and say, now criminals want to run for office. They don't allow that. First of all, if you're a criminal, they don't allow you to run for office. So for me to be eligible to run for office, it goes to show that I'm not a criminal. I'm just I'm a human being. I'm a citizen of this state, of this nation. I'm a proud resident of Little Rock, and I would just want everybody out there to know that you have, even whether I win or lose come election time, that I'm glad that I could be of a service to this city, that I could be someone that people could look to and know that at the drop of a dime, I'm going to be there if you call me, and if I can find a way there.
We're talking to Roderick Talley, who has just threw his name in the hat to run for seat 36, House District 36. That was formerly Democratic Charles Blake. Okay, I was just reading the Arkansas Times. They have not set an election date as of yet when that seat will be looked at, but it looks like Roderick, you are, Philip Hood is another who has claimed, and Darrell Stevens.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Because based on what you've been through, you would tend to believe that most people, man, I've had enough of this city.
Yes, sir.
I've had enough of this state.
Yes, sir.
I'm packing my bags and I'm hitting the road.
Yes, sir.
What's wrong with you?
I think I can say this, and it may sound sarcastic, but it's true. Thank the LRPD. I was in my own world, and I lived with a sense of fear, as in anytime that someone chooses to speak up for the lesser of people, I would say the impoverished people, and I don't want to say, I'm not saying this to be like I'm for one specific group of people. I'm for all people, but black people, we're the most targeted people, men and women. And I was fearful of any retaliation at one point for speaking up, because, I mean, as you all see, activists, they get rid of them, and so I just, when that opportunity presented itself like that, where I had to speak up, I had to say something, I removed fear. I don't live with it anymore. Of course, I'm cautious. I do still look over my shoulder for the most part, but if I kind of have accepted that if something is going to come, then it's going to come. But I'm not going to be fearful of speaking my mind or speaking up for others that seem to be to have that fear that I once had. And I think I take a sense of pride now, just like from what I went through and now where I'm at now. I think I just wonder, what motivates me is thinking what they're thinking. Like, I know this can't be a good feeling to them to see me in this position now, someone that went from having their rights and violated, and people that broke the law to do that, to me being able to be in a position to where I can possibly submit bills that could come into law. I can imagine the looks on some of those people that are in position, and the fear or the rumbling in their gut that they may have now.
Well, you're talking about a rumbling in your gut. You mentioned the fact that someone got on one of your posts and said something to the effect of criminals are running. Was that person white or black?
It was one of the LRPD officers. As I went on his page. Mm-hmm.
So basically, the LRPD is basically trolling you.
Yeah, yes, sir.
That's basically what he was doing.
Yeah, they're attempting to.
Yeah,
but
so,
I troll back.
Well, and that's good, because, and I'm glad you made the comment that obviously you know the law, but I'm glad you made the comment that criminals can't run for office.
You're right, yes, sir.
Because at one point, even during the Frank Scott's election,
yes, sir,
they tried to paint you as a criminal.
Oh yeah. Yes,
And that was, by the way, the FOP.
Yes, sir.
So, what has been the response overall for you announcing to run for this office?
I think the response has been great. The city has been behind me, friends, family, supporters from places that from people that don't even live here in Arkansas at all. So the support has been great. I've had such strong people around me. Dr. Nika Whitfield, my friend Jada Walls, Osiris Bali, and Dawn. They like to paint her as this as a bad person. And Dawn is just a very emotional person, a person that
Very passionate.
Very passionate, who loves her people and loves people all together. But I said, when you have been a person has been a victim of this system, it's sad that they turn our emotion and say that we're angry because we're passionate or expressive of our emotions. Like I hate that they do that. When it comes to people that choose to stand up, they try to paint you as this bad person, and it seems that it has backfired every time that they've attempted to do so. Minus them arresting innocent people that were protesting out by the Capitol and the prosecutor's office, but. I know now myself that they operate off of fear, and like I said, once you remove that, they become fearful, and then now they try to, but they choose to violate your rights and do things that they know that they think they can get away with, and the way that the prosecuting office is set up, they do get away with it. So, I mean, if I could walk around every day, even though I have more moral fiber than that, and I wouldn't do it, but if I could just imagine being able to walk around all day at a job where you get to harass and intimidate people and you could never get in trouble for it because the people that are supposed to discipline you or reprimand you are the same people that you work with every day. It's impossible.
855-525-5683 is the number. We've got Rod Talley in the house. If you'd like to call and ask him a question, you certainly can do that. But in the meantime, Rod, what would be, if let's say you win this election,
Yes, sir.
what have you thought about what the first thing you'd want to do?
I want to be around the people. I want to, spend a week just with the people that helped get me here. I want to get to work soon. It's something that I do have an issue with. I think I don't know if a bill could be created to take care of that, but it's a situation that I've had to deal with, and I think many of the people have had to deal with this justice system. And I haven't, narrowed anything down to a specific platform because I don't like to make promises like politicians do, make promises that they're going to do this and do that, because I know there's checks and balances in place, and no matter how much I want to push something through, there are a lot of determining factors that will say yes or no to whether what I believe in or what I want done can happen. But I know that anything that I want to do, I'm going to put forth all my effort to do it. And the thing that I think I've dealt with is these false arrests. And then after I'm falsely arrested, it goes on my record, and I have to go pay money to clear my record of things that I didn't do. So on top of spending bail money to get out of jail, I'm having to go pay another $50 per case to get any record of mine sealed. And as much as I'm not ashamed of things in my past because I didn't do the things that I've been accused of, it's still hurtful to know that, when people see that, they're going to draw their own perception. And I've been as transparent as possible about myself. If you ask me, I'm going to tell you, because I don't have anything to hide. But I think that's one thing that I want to attack first, in the sense of doing something about people having to pay to get their records sealed or expunged, in a sense, for things that they haven't been convicted of doing.
It's just another way that the city is making money off of poor people.
Yes, sir. Yes,
because imagine, and that's interesting that you bring that up, because every day people are falsely accused.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but they don't realize that, number one, that stays on your record.
Yes, sir.
And then those who do realize it probably in all likelihood can't afford to get it expunged, because as you said, it's not $50 for a package. It's $50 per case.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if they throw 3 or 4 different cases at you, you're already trying to pay an attorney. You've already had to put up bail.
Yes, sir.
And now you got to come back and try to get your record expunged.
Yes, sir.
Man, I mean, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
So, what do you say to people who who look at you and say, he's not supposed to be running?
I would say, walk in my shoes. I've fought on the ground. I've shown up, like I said, in places where I thought I could create change. We march, we plead, we pray, we beg. We do all of these things. We even just mind our business for the most part and try to stay out of people's way. But it's hard when you live in a community where outsiders and I don't have a complete issue with police officers. I have a issue with bad police officers, as I've said before. But when you have a overwhelmingly black community where you have 5 or 6 officers riding down your street every day, it's almost frightening to walk outside your door. Could you imagine me, you, a couple of our buddies riding around in cars out in West Little Rock, just riding, turning corners with the windows down? You know how afraid the neighborhood would be for us to walk outside. You know what I mean? Other officers would show up to you know what I mean? Officers would show up to try to see what was going on for us riding. So imagine how we feel in the black community when officers are riding through our streets and they wonder why we run when we see them. And you could lose your life, and they could get away with it. So I mean that's a fear. That's a fear. So for those that think I don't deserve to be here, it's because they don't want things to change, and they know I'm about change, and I'm not going to agree. I can't be bought. You can't buy me. I've been through hard times. I know what it's like to struggle. I say I'm a part of the community, so I know what it's like to struggle. So I'm not going to be sold into anything that you're buying. I'll go broke standing on my principles before I take money or be swayed to go along with something that I know is going to be hurtful to people or to the community.
I think what concerns people is the fact that you as a person, and by the way, hey Blackberry, I hope you enjoy Seattle, that you can't be bought. And I'll be honest, I don't endorse on this show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I know of one of the other people that are running.
Yes, sir.
I know of one other person that may be running.
Yes, sir.
But here's where I come down on this. And this is going to make a lot of current politicians angry.
Yes, sir.
Is that we've had enough of people in office already and ain't crap getting done.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to be real with you.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So it's time for a change.
Yes, sir.
And I certainly believe that if there were more regular Joe Blow people,
Yes, sir.
just regular folk,
Yes, sir.
running for office and getting in office,
Yes, sir.
and you're kind of seeing that a little bit with a lot of these sisters who are running.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You've seen that Trayvon Martin's
Yes,
mother
sir.
is running.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's see, somebody else's mom is running too. Tamir Rice's mother,
Yes,
I
sir.
believe, is
Yes,
running
sir.
as well.
Yes, sir.
I think it takes, see, that's the way government is supposed to be.
Yes, sir.
That's why they say, for the people and by the people.
Yes, sir.
Right now, what we have in government is people who don't care about people. And that means Democrats and Republicans. Let's be real here.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Because Joe Biden's a Democrat.
Yes, sir.
Joe Biden championed the crime bill that devastated black communities.
Hey.
Let's be real about
Yes,
that.
sir. Yes, sir.
And I don't want to hear that mess where, oh, everybody signed it.
Yes, sir.
Joe Biden was riding the lead horse,
Yes, sir.
okay, along with Hillary Clinton.
Yes, sir.
All right? So I think we need regular Joe Blow folks.
Yes, sir.
I think we need moms and pops, brothers like you,
Yes, sir.
who run for office, who can really get down with the people. Because most of these politicians now, they don't care about these people.
No, sir.
I'm going to be real with you.
Yes, sir.
There are one or two of them, but the majority of them, all you got to do is look at their posture. They don't care about
Not
these
care
people.
about the people. No, sir.
So I think it's great that you're running.
Yes, sir.
I wish you a lot of success.
Yes, sir.
You got to raise some money.
Oh yeah. I was gonna mention that everybody there. Arkansas has one, well, if not the highest filing fee for, and I'm running as Democrat. A $3,000 filing fee.
And they do that to keep what I just said out.
Yes, sir. That's part of it. Yes,
Okay.
Sir. Yes, sir. And so I'm gonna have to raise the funds to pay for the filing fee. And everything else that goes with campaigning, which I hope everybody's going to be supportive of. But and I'll say one more thing. I grew up in a neighborhood, and just because people live in your neighborhood does not mean they're a part of your neighborhood. If you live there and you never come outside your door, it's impossible to know what's going on outside in your community or in your neighborhood. So, like you said, I think a lot more mom and pop, regular Joe Blow people should get more involved and in tune with politics and what's going on, because though you're going in the court system or the criminal justice system and you need an attorney, attorneys don't make laws. It's politicians do. And those politicians don't come home and live by the same standards or the same situation or poverty-stricken neighborhood that you live in. They live in the upper echelon area of your community. So people get more involved and care more about the people that you put to represent you. And just because someone puts their name on a ballot and you're told to affiliate yourself with a certain party because of that, do your research. You're on Facebook or social media all the time anyway. Do your research and find out more about the people that are going to represent you.
Let me ask you a question. How old are you?
I'm 31.
So you're right in that age limit.
Yes, sir.
Or that age group, I should say. Most of the people your age don't vote.
Right.
You realize that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How do you, as a young brother who is trying to run for office, particularly here in the Little Rock area,
yes, sir,
how do you convince them to get to the polls?
I go to their doorstep. In those communities where the news shows up when something bad happens and politicians send other people to go, I'm going to let them see me at their door, the person that wants to represent them. And if I can have that talk with them myself and let them know how much I care, or be in that neighborhood, whether it's, hanging out with, shooting ball with the kids in the neighborhood, or whatever I have to do to let them know how much I care about, spend time with these people and let them know, hey, I come from where you come from. And I just want to be able to be a person that can help make your situation better if I can.
But man, they gonna do what they want to do. My vote don't matter. You can say all you want to say. My vote don't matter.
But your vote does matter, and that's why they try so hard to keep you from voting. If your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't be soliciting your vote, nor would they be trying to keep you from the polls. So your vote matters. To everybody out there that hasn't registered to vote, please, we're gonna come by your house anyway and bring voter registration forms or whatever we need to do to get you signed up. But please vote. Your vote matters. Your vote matters. When you go in that courtroom and or when we have situations like what happened with Bradley Blackshaw, and we have a prosecutor that won't prosecute.
Who's a Democrat?
That's because you all vote right down the line and you don't worry about issues.
Mm-hmm.
And now when we get in this situation, we're begging somebody to do the right thing. It shouldn't be like that. But when we don't go out and vote, those people get a say-so on our lives. So I hope you all are paying attention now, because it could be your child, it could be you, it could be your mother or father. Now parents are outliving the kids, and there's something very wrong with this. So we need to make sure we get out and vote, make our voices heard. I know you hear our ancestors fought for our right to vote. They did, and we need to utilize that right and go out and vote.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're talking to Roderick Talley, who has thrown his name and his hat in the ring as it relates to running for District 36, Charles Blake's old seat. The governor has not identified when that seat will be put up, or at least when the election will be held. I know he's going to try to figure out a way to try to get a Republican in there, although no Republicans have designated that they would run, and rightfully so, because they shouldn't even run in that district. There's look, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but I know where my bread is buttered, and it certainly ain't with the Republican Party, for sure. You have a difficult road ahead of you.
Yes, sir.
Because I believe that there are going to be certain middle of the road or traditional people who are going to vote for traditional people.
Yes, sir.
And the reason I asked you the question about the millennials is they are the key.
They are key.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
They are the key somehow or another. If you're going to be successful, and I wish you tons of success,
Yes, sir.
that you're going to have to get them motivated.
Yes, sir.
What I would do is offer you some advice. Everywhere they are, you should be there.
Be there. Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
If it's the skating rink,
Yes, sir.
go to the skating rink and tell that person who you are and say, hey, can I make a 2-minute announcement?
Yes, sir.
Okay? And get you a 2-minute spiel.
Yes, sir.
That's all you need is 2 minutes. You ought to be able to, me as a radio person, I make commercials.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you a lot about a product in 60 seconds,
Yes, sir.
even in 30 seconds.
Yes, sir.
So I know it can be done. So at the skating rink, even if it's at the club,
Yes, sir.
start going to these clubs and saying, hey, look, I look like you. I'm your age. I know you think it doesn't work,
sir.
but we can prove them different.
Yes, sir.
No matter where they are, every chance you can speak,
Yes, sir.
every time you can get in front of a mic in front of them, you have to do that
Yes, sir.
if you're going to be successful.
Yes, sir.
Because I think they're the key. And for whatever reasons, millennials hadn't gotten it that, man, I just turned 58 last week.
Wow.
This world is yours now.
Yes, sir.
I've got more time behind me than I have in front of me.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So it is up to you guys to decide how you want this world to be. If you don't want police raiding your home, illegal search and seizure, then you've got to stand up and say you don't want that. That means with your ballot.
Yes, sir.
Okay? They've also got to start putting money. As you just said, it costs $3,000 to file here in the state of Arkansas.
Sir.
If people are serious about making change, I mean, look, you look at it from this perspective, you get 100 people giving $10. That's $1,000.
Easy. Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
All the people, and I know if everybody on your line, on your friends list,
Yes, sir.
and I know you got a long friends list,
Yes, sir.
if everyone gave $10,
I'll be there.
you'd be there.
I'll be there.
You see what I'm saying? So here's an opportunity, and I'm saying this, and I'm not talking to Rodney, I'm talking to you guys. Here's an opportunity that you say, we need our young people to step up. We need our young people to get involved.
Yes, sir.
Here's a young brother, you followed his story. You've chronicled his story. In fact, because of Roderick's story, Little Rock has national people looking at it now when they weren't at first. People weren't even paying attention to Little Rock. Okay? So if you believe in this young brother, if you believe that we must make change, and change comes with the sprouting of new fruit, then you got to get out and support this brother. And here's the other thing. Even if you don't support him, send him some money. Send him some money. Because now, guess what happens? A lot of people ain't, these Little Rock Police Department, they're a little bit more reluctant to go and crash your house now.
Yeah.
Prior to Roderick Talley, all of this stuff was going on. I mean, it's funny because you went back and you chronicled cases.
Yes, sir.
You went back in old cases and see, they did it to him, they did it to her, they did it to him, they did it to her. All of a sudden now, you're not seeing these no-knock warrants.
They stopped.
You got people running for cover. You see what I'm saying? And no offense to anyone else, because I know 2 or 3 other people who are planning on running.
Yes, sir.
You got to do more than just talk.
Yes, sir. Gotta walk.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
You got to do more than just talk. And there are a lot of people who are great orators. There are a lot of people who are great talkers. But they're not getting anything done. And based on what I've seen, brother, you got something done in this city. Look, it's hard to impress me.
Yes, sir.
I'm impressed, brother.
Appreciate it, Miss Cole.
That don't mean you got my vote yet. You still got to work a little hard.
Yes, sir.
I tell you, I'm a hard nut to crack.
Yes, sir.
I'm a hard nut to
I
crack.
respect
You know?
I respect you, yes, sir.
But the point is that you got something done.
Yes, sir.
And that is the makings of someone who cares about people. Because you really could have just taken your case, did what you needed to do for Roderick,
Roger. Yes, sir.
and forgot about everybody else.
Yes, sir.
You see, it takes a big man to say, oh, come on, bro, let me help you.
Yes, sir.
And as I watched on your Facebook feed, the different people that you helped in different situations, man, I think you're right in your wheelhouse.
Yes, sir.
That was the makings of someone who was waking up.
Yes, sir.
And I'm hoping that there will be more young brothers and sisters in your age that will say, hey, we can make a difference.
Yes, sir.
We must make a difference.
Yes, sir.
You see, so I congratulate you, my man.
Appreciate it.
Keep up the great work. You're more than welcome here. Look, your competitors are welcome here too, but they're afraid of tough questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, I've asked a couple of them before, and they're afraid of tough questions. You know, but we've got to be willing to prune off that which is not providing growth.
Exactly.
You understand what you get that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
The reason they prune plants is because if they don't, then that plant may die. You see, so we've got to prune off those which are not providing growth. And unfortunately, here in Little Rock, there are a whole lot of people who are doing that,
Yes, sir.
that are in political offices.
Yes,
And I don't mean to make you mad at me. I know y'all been in there. There's tradition, but sometimes tradition has got to be overturned.
Yes, sir.
So I wish you, before you go, you have any other thing? By the way, if I wanted to donate some money to you, how do I donate money?
I have a GoFundMe. I haven't posted it yet. And a PO box I'm going to provide in case those that aren't internet savvy, they could mail any checks or money orders to the PO box that I'll provide. I tell everybody, if you donate on the GoFundMe, please email me, or I'll provide my email address, or DM me. I need your name, your address, your occupation, and your place of employment. These are requirements from the financial disclosures. I don't do anything that'll discredit me or that I'll get fined for. So if you're gonna help, please provide that information.
Okay, say that again. If they're gonna send you money,
If you're gonna send money on a check or even on the GoFundMe, if you donate, please provide your name, address, occupation, and place of business. These are the requirements by the Ethics Commission. They have to have these things. I have to have them when I turn in my reports. So please, you can send it to my email, which I will provide, or you can just send it to me in a message on Facebook.
and also they can cash app you, right?
Or you can cash out me. Just provide that information.
Right. Or do like one of them little old women used to do back in the day. They walk up and give you a $5 handshake.
Yeah.
You still need her name, her occupation,
everything,
and all of that stuff. Because certainly with you, Roderick, you know they're gonna be watching you, right?
Yes, sir.
I just wait till he mess up.
Yes, sir.
He gonna mess up.
I'm not.
Yeah, I'm gonna get him. I'm just waiting.
Yes, sir.
So all important that you make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's,
Yes, sir.
and then go back and proofread it and do it again, because you know they're going to be
Yes,
after you.
sir.
Because
Yes,
you made an excellent point earlier in the show, is that when you're an activist, they come after you
American.
because they know that we will we stir up stuff.
Yes, sir.
As I told a friend the other day, my day in the barrel is coming.
Yes, sir.
Because I stir stuff up here every day.
Yes, sir.
You know, and the word is getting out. But my goal is that, see, if we all stir up enough, if we're all out there stirring, they can't get all of
Can't get
us.
out.
See, that was Dr. King's philosophy with all the marching, is that they can't arrest us all.
Yes, sir.
You see, they can arrest some of us,
Yes, sir.
and that's why we got to do a better job of supporting issues that relate to our community,
sir.
because they can't stop a locomotive,
No, sir.
but they can sure stop a car.
Yes,
I'm just saying.
yes, sir.
All right. So, man, hey, good. Congratulations.
Thanks
for coming in.
Yes, sir.
Again, you're more than welcome. Now, when you start getting your campaign funds, remember, advertise on JoinNet.
Yes, sir.
We were here
Yes,
for
sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, again, I wish you tons and tons of luck. Much respect for you, my young brother.
Thank you.
I worried about you often.
Yes, sir.
And to see you sitting across from me right now with that smile on your face, this is an old saying,
Yes, sir.
like you swallowed the cat, you know, the cat that swallowed
Yes,
the
sir.
canary.
Yes, sir.
You know, to see you doing that, this is a blessing, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and it's just a testament that if you continue to fight and you don't let anyone turn you around, if you stand on right, wrong is never gonna prevail.
Yes, sir.
And you stood on right.
Yes, sir.
And there are still these wrong-headed rednecks out here who mad at you.
Yes, sir.
But they can be mad all they
Be
want.
mad all they want.
Yes, they can.
Yes, sir.
All right, my brother.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break. Hey, I want to thank Roderick Talley for coming in today. And, of course, you guys need to follow this brother, my friends who are outside of the state. Blackberry, I know you're in San Francisco, Northern California. Teresa is in Nashville. Wherever you are listening to this show, please reach out. Roderick Talley on Facebook. Follow him. Send him a donation. Get involved. You always say that young black males aren't doing anything. Well, here's a young black male. No, he's not doing anything. He's doing a lot of things. Okay? And he started with fighting for you, the people of Little Rock. So y'all get involved with this brother. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And we certainly going to have him back on the show real soon. All right? We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. I'm Dynamic Dave. Coming back, I see you all are still posting about the cancer thing. I will tell you why it's not cancer. And why I'm going to have a fantastic weekend with that news. Back in a moment, Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
This is attorney Danielle Walker from the Walker Law Firm. Are you drowning in debt?
All right, man.
Becoming unmanageable, struggling to make ends meet. It might
Sure,
be
no
time to
problem.
consider bankruptcy
No problem.
options. Call me at 501.
Appreciate it and good luck, man. Keep up the great work. You know, and any help you need, just let me know. Okay? And you might want to reach out to Robert Webb.
Possession, wage garnishments, and more.
He ran for Ward 1. He could probably give you some points. So reach out to him. Reach out and tell him I told you. And he's on Facebook. All right?
501-374-1448.
All right, man. Take it easy.
501-374-1448. 501-374-1448. This is attorney Danielle Walker from the Walker Law Firm, and let me help you.
Mitchell Funeral Home welcomes all of Arkadelphia and Arkansas in Clark County since 1966. At Mitchell Funeral Home, they understand that the funeral is a celebration of life and legacy, so the entire staff takes great pride in the caring, personal, and professional services they provide. Cremations, funeral planning, burial policy, life insurance, notary, and monument sales are just a few of the services they offer. Flexible packages are available as well. Mitchell Funeral Home appreciates the trust and confidence placed in them and will continue to enhance their services so as to serve you better. Call now. Get connected. 870-246-2611. That's 870-246-2611. Call, click, or come by. MitchellFuneralServices.com. Don't wait till we're needed. Call us now. Let's walk through this together. 870-246-2611. It's quality you can appreciate and service you can depend on at Mitchell Funeral Home.
Fill your home for the holidays with Bedrock Mattress and More. Bundle and save for every room in your home. Package deals just in time for the holidays. Our first bundle starting at $5.98. Perfect for a dorm room. Bundle deal 2, only $15.99. Enough to fill your first apartment. And fill your home with our third bundle starting at only $24.99. Come get these deals while they last. Special pricing going on now through the end of the year. Celebrate this holiday season with something new from Bedrock Mattress and More. 3901 South University in Little Rock.
Hi, I'm attorney Theodore Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help with your legal matters. Whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710 in Little Rock. I'm attorney Theodore Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
Hey friends, Father's Day is right around the corner, and Coleman's Dynamic Products is offering a dynamic gift just for Dad. Pick 6 for Dad. Any 6 items in my product line. Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub, Dust, Juice, Nuts, Batter, you name it, all for only $29.95 plus shipping and handling. Upgrade to Pick 10 for only $39.95. Pick 6 for Dad. You must call 615-554-0568 to get this dynamic Father's Day Day special. Dad and you will be glad you did. Each purchase receives a Coleman's Dynamic downloadable cookbook. We want to say Happy Father's Day for all the great fathers out there. And while you enjoy your day, don't forget to bake it, grill it, smoke it, oh yeah, with Coleman's Dynamic product. Pick 6 or pick 10. You must call 615-554-0568 to get this dynamic Father's Day special.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. The phone line's open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert.
Yo! Yeah, I'm in a good mood today. Well, I'm actually in a good mood every day. But I will admit to you that I've been a little funky the last few weeks. Tell you why in a moment. Welcome to Black Focus Radio, the second hour. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. Want to thank Roderick Talley for dropping by last hour, announcing his candidacy for District 36, Charles Blake's old seat. Congratulations to him. Really appreciate that. And good luck to him as well. I think he's well suited for the position. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I really do. I'm one of those people who typically don't like to send people to legislate who don't know much about legislation. Okay? But in Roderick's case, when you go back and you look at his case, and you look at what he did, here's a young brother who has no formal training, has no legal training at all, and the way he turned the Little Rock Police Department and Little Rock City government on its ear for their illegal search and seizures, their illegal no-knock warrants. This is the type of person, in my opinion, that you ought to be looking at. Okay? Not because someone is a great orator. Not because someone has friends in the know. But we always say on this show, what have you done for the people? What show us your fight prior to now. What's your fight? Because in my opinion, that person who's running for office, if that person has no fight, has no history of fighting for people, that person should not be in office. Now, I don't know the others, all of the others that's going to be running. I know one or two. But again, I'm going to say, if that person has no history of fighting for you, then that person doesn't deserve your vote. And here's a man who could have simply walked away. Here's a man who could have simply just said, hey, look, sorry, dog. I'm gonna do my thing, and then I'm going to take my ball and go home. Roderick Talley didn't do that. So I wish him tons and tons of success. Now, this hour, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, but I want to go ahead and clear the air. I'm getting lots of responses from people on my Facebook feed. I typically don't talk about my personal business, and I do that purposely because I don't know why. I just don't. So you all may not know, and in fact I know you don't know, that over the last few years I've been suffering tremendously when it comes to pain in my body. If you listen to the weekly sports magazine, you've heard me talk a lot about all of the different ailments that I'm suffering from. I don't do it for sympathy. Here's why I do it, because I don't want your children growing up and being football players. I'm going to be real with you. Don't get mad at me. But I don't want your child to grow up and be a football player and end up like I am today. 8 titanium screws in my neck, C3 through C7. T5 through 8 is separated, or at least misaligned. I have hip problems. I have knee problems. I have ankle problems. I have hand problems where there are times when I can't grip. All of that stuff is from, unfortunately, playing football. Because, see, I was one of those people who loved the game. Okay? I was one of those people who believed, I wasn't playing it to go pro. I was playing it because I just loved the game. So I threw my body around wantonly. Didn't care, would get hurt, wouldn't tell the coach. In fact, I played, believe it or not, I played another year and a half with a broken neck. I didn't even know it either at the time. Yeah, I said that. I played another year and a half with my broken neck. Because I love the game. So now I'm suffering. So this morning, I guess it's been about, this leg problem has beginning to get progressively worse. I've been powering through it for years. Let me say it again. I've been powering through this leg problem for years. Now it was in my ankle, then it got in my shin, now it's in my hip. I became concerned that this is getting worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. So I decided to go to the doctor. Yeah, black man, take your butt to the doctor. A lot of black men would have been just hanging around saying, oh, it'll be okay. I'm okay. No, I believe in going to the doctor. So I went to the doctor. They did x-rays of my leg. And about a day later, they called me and said, Mr. Coleman, we need to set up you an appointment with the orthopedic oncologist. Now, I know what orthopedic oncologist. I know I've had enough problems with my bones to understand what orthopedic is. And certainly because I'm learned enough to know what oncologist is. So I knew that was not good. It didn't take them a week to call me back after the initial. It took them a day. In other words, as soon as they saw the x-rays, they said, hey, we need to get you over to the orthopedic oncologist. So for the last 8 to 10 days, I've been in a funk. We know when they say the C word, we all understand the implications of that, don't we? I certainly do. I've been in a funk. I have not been myself. Although I came here every day on this radio show and you didn't know it, but David Coleman was dealing with something. It was eating me up. It was eating me up. And I couldn't tell anybody because I didn't want everybody worrying about me. That's not what I'm all about. Had I got the diagnosis this morning, I probably wouldn't tell you. I'm only telling you this because the diagnosis was negative. But had it been positive, I wouldn't tell you what I was going through. That's always been my nature. I've always basically fought my battles alone. So I walk into the office this morning and the Cancer Institute over at UMS, although they try to make it a happy place, is not a happy place. You know why you're there. You know why you're there. And as you walk in, It's this big, beautiful area, but everyone in there has this look on their face. I can't really describe it, but it's a look of, maybe is it disbelief? I don't know what you would call it. I don't know what you would call it. So I walk in, and of course the lady at the desk, she was very gleeful and joyful. In fact, they have to be that way considering the department in which they're in. So I sat down, and obviously I was a bit dismayed. They called me back. I'm sitting in the room bordering on insanity because I've had to live the last 10 days wondering if my leg is, I mean, you'd be surprised what you go through mentally if you've never been in this position. I was worried about what if they have to cut my leg off. I'm serious. I had these thoughts. What if they have to cut my leg off? What if I'm not ambulatory? There's a guy who's homeless here in Little Rock who sits in a wheelchair, and he literally pushes himself around the streets backwards in a wheelchair. And I had flashes of that being me. I mean, your mind will play tricks on you. Even as strong as mine is, it did begin to get to me. I was about to cross into a road that I've never crossed. I didn't know how to handle it. I've certainly seen it. I've heard it. But here it was, right smack dab in my face. So then the doctor walks in. One thing that made me feel better, believe it or not, is that the doctor was a brother. The orthopedic oncologist, at least one of them at UAMS, is a black man. Okay? His name is Claude Montgomery. I hope I said his first name right. But his last name is definitely Montgomery. Good brother, positive brothers. He walks into the office and he says, look, Mr. Coleman, let me immediately say something to you. He says, one of the things that I do is when I get a case, I will, before I see the patient, I research that patient's history. And I research the case. So when I come in, I can give you good information. And sure enough, he had researched the case. He had researched me. He started telling me about previous visits, and so he knew me, at least through my medical records. It wasn't 2 minutes into his visit or him entering the room that he told me, I'm going to dispel some concerns right now. I can see it on your face. I'm going to tell you, Mr. Coleman, you don't have cancer. That shocked me. Not that I didn't have cancer, but all of those iterations in my mind, all of that imagination that had began to flare up. Poof! When he said, Mr. Coleman, you don't have cancer, all of it said, poof! It disappeared. It disappeared. Now, some of you all out there might be saying, oh, darn, oh. But a lot of you all are saying, I'm happy for you. So this weekend, I'm going to have a great weekend. Myself and some friends are going up to Petit Jean Mountain. We're going to hang out in the mountains for 3 days, do some fishing, some hiking. You know, and here's the funny thing about it. So one of the things, it was suggested that, well, maybe I shouldn't go to Petit Jean. And I had said, no, I'm going to Petit Jean because this might be the last opportunity that I have to get back with nature. You all know I'm a nature person, right? So I said, no, I'm going to Petit Jean because I want to get back with nature. And if I hurt, so be it. I'm just going to hurt. But I'm going to take some of those hiking trails. I'm going to fish and I'm going to enjoy myself. That's exactly what I said. Bad leg be damned. I'm still going to Pettigene. My leg still hurts. But you know what? Bad leg be damned. I'm going to enjoy my weekend. I'm going to enjoy my friends. Okay? I'm going to enjoy all of that. Whereas that it was going to be maybe a somber occurrence, a somber occasion. And I really wasn't going to, I wasn't going to even tell my friends. But now I'm going to tell them in the aftermath, here's what the deal is. So that's why I'm a little giddy today. And that's why when you go out on my Facebook wall, you see I posted in caps, screaming at the top of my lungs, it's not cancer. Now on my x-ray, there is this strange, I don't know, they call it some type of, it's not even a growth. It's just this strange anomaly on my x-ray, on my fibula. And it looks like someone had taken a pencil and literally just drew a shape. But that's a good thing because the lines are defined, that told him that it's not cancer. Now, had those lines been jagged, then that would have been another story possibly. So whatever that is on my leg is not causing my pain. And then, of course, they went on to tell me what is causing the pain. Part of it is old age. Part of it is that I have extreme arthritis in my knees from playing football, typical of what many football players get. There may be a moment where I'm going to have to go in, they're going to have to go in and do some orthoscopic surgery or clean it out. But that's about it. And they believe that that's what's causing the entire pain in my whole leg, which it is. If that's the case, then hopefully I can be running here within the next 6 months to a year. So no, I don't have cancer. And I want to thank everybody. I didn't tell many people. There were one or two people. I told JC. JC is a good friend of mine. I thought it would be important to tell him. Obviously, because I was going to have to go to the doctor, and I was thinking the worst. So I was thinking that, hey, I wasn't going to even be here today because I'd be somewhere on someone's doctor's table, and they'd be doing a biopsy. I was wrong. So I posted, I don't have cancer. And the responses continue to roll in part because many of the people, it's just amazing when you think people are not following your feed and you post something and all these people that you say, oh, so you are following my feed. I'm good with that. Or people that surprise you that are following your feed. Oh, that's you? Oh, okay. So I'm seeing a lot of that. A lot of people are responding. People that I hadn't seen or talked to in a while. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your love. I really appreciate your support and your prayers. No matter who you pray to, hey, we all need prayer. So I really appreciate that. All right. So that's what I mean by it's not cancer. Because for the last almost 2 weeks, the black man been worrying that, hey, soon and very soon I was going to see the king. So I'm smiling today. I'm excited. It's like a burden has been lifted off of my shoulders. It really is. It's like a burden has been lifted off of my shoulders. Now I've got to go take a prostate exam and I've got to take a colonoscopy. Yeah, I'm at that age. And I'm tired of people saying that to me. You know, they'll look at me and although I got a lot of gray hair, apparently I don't look like I'm 57. So for like 3 different times this week at the doctor's office, they've looked at my chart and said, "Oh, you're 57." I said, "Well, what the hell is all this gray hair? What do you think?" "Well, you just don't look that old, Mr. Coleman." And of course, I don't suffer from high blood pressure, sugar, diabetic, any of that. Knock on wood. So it's not cancer. 855-525-5683 is the number. Again, I want to thank Rod Talley for coming by. Good luck. I know I was calling him Roderick. I'm sorry. You know, back in the day, there was Roderick and Roderick. And his name is Roderick. But I knew a lot of Rodericks too. So charge it to my head and not to my heart. Okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on in the country. Okay? Here's one for you. And yeah, I'm glad I want to talk about this real fast. And we're going to have the book list here in just a moment. So, the manager at a Buffalo Wild Wings in Overland Park, Kansas, regularly made derogatory remarks about black customers and even allowed employees to refuse them service, a new federal lawsuit alleges. The plaintiff's lawyer, Gerald Gray, claims the reason white employees gave for not serving black patrons was that blacks don't give good tips. And I want to stop right there. They don't. Now, you can get upset with me all you want, but they don't. Black people don't tip, or they tip poorly. Now, take it from someone who has been in the restaurant business, raised children, had been in there a long time. There's the old saying, I've been from the back of the house to the front of the house. I've waited tables at some very nice restaurants. Captain Bilbo's, J.P. Seafield's, Houston's, even at O'Charlie's at one point. And what I've learned over the years is black people don't tip. As a matter of fact, I had to go get on a waitress because at a particular restaurant, well, I'll tell you what it was Houston's. At Houston's, I was the only black waiter. And we had white hostesses who would, for whatever reasons, would always seat black people in my section. Well, let me be honest with you. I'm in the waiting tables business because I'm in there to make money. I'm in there to feed my family. During that time, waiters made $2.01 an hour. So the majority of the money that we made was tips. That's how we make our money. That's how waiters and waitresses make their money. Bartenders. These restaurants do not pay waiters and waitresses a living wage. Did y'all know that? So when you walk, I saw a video last week where this family of about 10 or 11 went to this restaurant, ran up a $500 bill, and they walked out. Now, I know some of y'all think that's funny, but you have to understand that waitress or that waiter, in all likelihood, that's coming out of their paycheck. I worked at tons and tons of restaurants who their policy was that if you let someone skip out on a bill, you're going to pay for it. People thought that was funny. No, it's not funny when you think about it from a waiter's standpoint. I remember when the Kojic used to come to Memphis, and they would always come to Houston's, and they would always eat barbecue ribs. These little old ladies in these mink hats, these mink coats, and these fancy hats, they would fill up Houston's. At one point, they filled up Houston's, and they filled up my section, and that whole day, I think I made $3. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because the manager at the Overland Park, Kansas, Buffalo Wild Wings, did not have the right to discriminate against black people, regardless of how much they tip. He didn't have the right to do that. But I'm trying to educate black people and all the people that are listening to my show today. And I'm going to say it again and again and again. if you are going out, you must have enough money to tip. And the tip is a minimum of 15%. Now, let me be clear with you. You are not mandated to tip, because if that waiter or waitress gives you bad service, they don't deserve a tip. That's why I frown at restaurants who have mandatory gratuities, because that's what it is, a gratuity. And if I decide I'm not going to pay it, I don't have to pay it. But I get upset with restaurants who have mandatory gratuities for parties of 6 or more, and then that waiter or waitress will come out and give you piss poor service. He will not fill your water. He will not refill your tea. Your food is cold. You don't get the right dressing. And all while you're asking for more, he's back in the back room somewhere smoking a cigarette. He doesn't deserve a gratuity. And by the way, if you ever go to a restaurant and they try to make you pay a gratuity and you have legitimate reasons why you shouldn't, don't pay it. They can't make you pay it. Okay? Because number one, every restaurant, regardless of who those people are, you ought to get good service. And here's the other thing. You cannot just simply presuppose that just because somebody is black that they're not going to tip you. You know why? I just told you why. I just told you that I was an ex-waiter. I tip 15% everywhere I go, if tipping is part of it. A minimum of 15%. Okay? So if you presuppose you're a white waitress or a white waiter, and you presuppose that just because I'm black, my date is black, we come into your restaurant and you say, oh, well, they're black, I'm not gonna get a good tip from them. You've just stereotyped me, not understanding that I was a former waiter or waitress. Well, a former waiter, not a waitress. Bartender. But if you want your tip, then you need to make sure that you're giving me good service. That means that when my water is empty, I shouldn't have to ask you for water. That means that you will refill my water. You'll be standing there with the pitcher asking, do you need water? Do you need tea? That means that when my food comes out of the kitchen, after I've taken a couple of bites, you ought to be back at my table asking, is your steak cooked properly? Is your fish cooked properly? Can I get you all anything else right now? That's called a callback. Hello? Now that's from the waitress's standpoint or the waiter's standpoint. Let me talk about the patrons, the black patrons. I said earlier that if you're going out to eat, then you need to take enough money for tip. Now, if you get bad service, that's one thing. But if you get good service or decent service and you still don't tip, you're a piece of crap. Because those waiters and waitresses are not making minimum wage. Many of you all are complaining about you don't make enough money. All you're making is minimum wage. Well, guess what? I don't know what the minimum wage is right now for waiters and waitresses, but it can't be over $3 an hour. So theoretically, if a waiter shift is only about 4 hours a day, you do the math. That's barely $10 for working 4 hours. So all of the money that he or she makes is from tips. And if you're giving $1 on a $50 bill, you don't need to be out eating. It's not funny. People are making a living waiting tables. And I know some people say, well, the employer ought to pay a decent wage. That's not that business. That's not that business model. So if you get upset because someone doesn't want to wait on you because black people give bad tips, it's our fault. Because they do. I'm just being real with you. You can get mad all you want. Black people don't tip. Well, let me just say, the majority of them don't tip. So if you're upset about that, then maybe you need to rethink how you go out. You ought to be tipping every time you go. Look, when I go in the airport, I'm tipping. Look, last weekend I went up to Tunica, Mississippi. We stayed at the Horseshoe. I tipped the valet. I had a pretty good day at the casino, at the blackjack table. When I finished, I tipped the dealer. Went and ate in the buffet. Although they don't give you service the way they used to in the buffets anymore. You have to literally go and get your drink. I left a tip on the table for that. Checked out of the hotel room that morning. Left a tip in the hotel room for the housekeeper. Went down to pick up the vehicle. Told him I wasn't ready to leave yet. He said, well, I'll park your vehicle right here. I had already tipped him the day before. When I came back out and got ready to go, I tipped him again. That's expected. That old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans. If you're going to travel this country, if you're going to try to eat in nice restaurants, then I'm telling you, folks, you need to start tipping. And you need to start with 15%. The only way that you don't, look, even if you don't get great service, give them 10%. The only way you don't tip is that they are just terrible. They've disrespected you. They've brought out a bad meal. And here's the other thing. When I was waiting tables, you know who I tipped? I would tip the cooks. I tipped the chef. You know why I would do that? See, a lot of my friends who waited with me, they would always wonder, David, why do you always get your stuff out on time and it looks good? Because I'd be throwing dollars at them. You know what I'd always do? I'd also tip the dishwasher. Because I guarantee you, at some point in your shift, you're going to need to go back to that dishwasher and you need a certain spoon or you need a certain cup or a bowl or a plate. And they're all stacked up and getting ready to go through the dishwasher. Now you can go back there screaming and hollering at that dishwasher, and you know what you're going to get? Attitude. I'm just being real with you, okay? But you can go back there and say, hey man, can you get that plate for me? I'll take care of you. And it got to a point when that brother got that plate for me and I gave him $5. Every time I'd walk through that door near the dishwasher, he'd look at me like, what you want, man? What you want? It wasn't, oh crap, here comes David again. It was like, hey man, you need this spoon, you need this, it didn't matter. And then of course the other waiters would, because I was the only black waiter, they would think, oh, well, he's black, you're black, y'all, he's doing that for you because you're black. And I would tell them, I said, no, that's not why he's doing that. He's doing that because he understands that I care about him by giving him money. He understands that I realize he's not making much money. But you know what? If the dishwasher ain't there, ain't none working. You got to understand where your bread is buttered. If your dishwasher quits, you in trouble, bro. The whole damn restaurant. So you ought to be taking care of that dishwasher. Every time you walk through that door and you need something from him, you ought to say, hey man, I was just thinking about you. Here's your $5. Or hey man, I'm going to take care of you at the end of the night. I did that with dishwashers. I did it with my bussers. I did it with my chefs. So when I walk through the kitchen, hey man, this steak is not cooked right. He wouldn't give me attitude. He'd say, man, how do you need it cooked? Better still, I'm gonna cook you a brand new one. Go out there and tell them I'm gonna cook them a brand new one. I'll take care of you. Come back in the kitchen 6-7 minutes later, there's a mistake, new setup, everything taken out. Hey, So you know what's going to happen? That person on that table is going to give me a better tip. Why wouldn't I share it with my cooks or my dishwashers or my busboys? That's why I was always the number one seller on the floor. Because people knew Dave was going to pay. My bartender, yeah, I tipped my bartender too. Now I say all that to say this, that black folks, we got to do better. We making money. If you cannot tip 15% minimum, then you don't need to go out. I'm just being real with you. I wouldn't want you at my table and you come up there tipping me 5% on a $100 bill. That's $5. Y'all get that, right? 15% of that is $15. So if your bill is $100, guess what? You need to take $115. There's no excuse. Y'all the first ones want to go eat out, and then you wonder why people don't want you in their business. Because you don't adhere to business acumen. I'm just being real with you. 855-525. Probably made some of y'all mad. I know I've heard them. I ain't tipping them. They ought to pay a better wage. Well, don't be surprised if you get bad service. If you ever wonder why you go to a restaurant all the time and those white waiters and waitresses look at you and treat you like crap, it's because somebody black prior to you has left them $1 on a $100 bill. Or did to me like them little women, those little Kojic women did to me at Houston's one day. This little old lady, she had spent $30 on her meal. And she went to looking in her change purse to give me a tip. And I stood there as she counted out 5 red pennies. And she reached up on the table. She literally took her purse. She had a little change purse in one hand. And she counted the pennies on the table. You know how old people do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then she reached up and grabbed my hand and raked the pennies into my hand. And said, "Here, son, I just wanted to give you something. You did a great job." And I politely said, "Ma'am, that's okay. Here, take this back. I don't need it. I make plenty of money here. I appreciate it." And I was very kind to her. I said, "Ma'am, my tip was being able to wait on you." And you know what happened? The gentleman who brought them, after he had gotten them loaded up, he walked back into the restaurant and gave me a $50 bill. And he looked at me and said, "Brother, I know what you're going through." After all, I was the only black waiter there. I was already catching hell because I was the only black waiter there and I was the best. But then he realized that those little old black women had did me an injustice by leaving pennies on the table. And as I went around my tables, that's what I had. I had stacks of pennies. So I say all that to say, folks, if you're going out, make sure you tip. Okay? Otherwise, don't go out. Go to Burger King and McDonald's. Make sure you tip. Okay, a couple of other things. I talked a little bit on the previous show about Omar Ibn Said, his collection, the slave who actually chronicled his time in slavery in Arabic. The white slave owners were so ignorant that they didn't know that this is what he was doing. That book is now being published at the Library of Congress. You can go out on their website right now and read it for free. Because, see, there are a lot of people, number one, still today don't believe that slavery existed. And if it did, then they like to say that, oh, well, it was because, black people liked it. They wanted slavery. So go out and look at that book. Like I said, it is now on the Library of Congress's website. Go check it out. All right. Let's see what else. A couple of other things. I don't really care about Nancy Pelosi. Let's see. I was going to use this as my black fact. Let me see. Let me make sure I have time before, because we're going to do the book list here in just a moment. Let's see. That came from. Okay. All right. Good. We'll do those four. And, well, we'll do two. We'll talk about the two that we had last week, and we'll do two more today. But I wanted to read this article right here real fast. This is on CNN. And the title is Arkansas Billboard Asks Who Lynched World War I Veteran. A billboard that is seen from Arkansas Interstate is aimed at solving a cold case from 1954. Who lynched Isidore Banks? The billboard asks, Isidore Banks was an African-American World War I veteran who was chained to a tree, doused in gasoline, and burned beyond recognition in June 1954. The slaying remains one of the nation's oldest unsolved civil rights cases. Below, the question is a phone number on the billboard. When you call the number, you're greeted by a message with a brief explanation on who Banks was. It turns out the billboard was put up by a group of journalists who are hoping to learn more information about the 65-year-old crime. Banks was a pillar in the African American community, joined the Army at 22 in final months of World War I. It's not clear from his military records whether he deployed overseas. He was given an honorable discharge on August 2nd, 1919. In 2010, 90 years after he served 56 years after his death, he received military honors. After he returned from the Army in 1920, he helped to bring electricity to an Arkansas town of Marion. He later became one of the wealthiest black landowners in a region with a long history of racial violence. At one point, he owned as many as 1,000 acres. There are three theories that locals have repeated since Banks' killing on why people went after him in 1954. He had beaten up a white man who had courted his oldest daughter, Muriel. White men had made several offers on his land, but he refused to sell. Banks was involved with a white woman who rented her land to him, and white people were upset. Let me just say this. The first and the last item is probably a lie. You know, if you go back and you look at history, they always say that he was messing with a white woman, or a white woman got this from him. Give me a break. The FBI and Crittenden County officials say they investigated the crime, but there has never been justice for Banks. Until we know who the culprits were, who took Dad's life, and until we know what happened to our land, it can never be a complete closure. Jim Banks, son of, that's Banks' son. The billboard on I-55 near Marion seems to be doing its job of shedding light on many people knew nothing about, on things many people knew nothing about. One driver told CNN that seeing the billboard led her to looking up who Banks was. She was surprised to learn it was such an old case. So you know what we've got to do now, right? We've got to get Mr. Banks' son on. Because if you remember, a lot of this took place, guess where? Crittenden County, Elaine, Arkansas. I wonder if the same person that murdered Banks was part of the mob who murdered all of those farmers. I hope someday we'll learn the answer to that. Okay, 855-525-5683. Let's talk a little bit about the books, the book list. Last week, we talked about From Babylon to Timbuktu and The Valley of the Dry Bones. I got a lot of response from that show last week, last Friday. A lot of people are fascinated by some of the things that I know. Don't be fascinated by the things that I know. Fascinate yourself by learning things. Babylon the Timbuktu talks about the historical perspective of early pre-Egyptian civilization in the sub-Sahara. See, what a lot of people don't understand is that many of the things that happened in Egypt had already happened in the southern Sahara, the sub-Sahara. Those people migrated north to Egypt. That's why you see all of those hieroglyphics and the people are brown or black complexion. It also gives you information about the Bible. The other book is The Valley of the Dry Bones, that too by Dr. Rudolph Windsor. And I talked about the real Jews, the Philoshes, the original Jews. Not the Jews that you see in the paper, not the Jews that are bombing Palestine, but the original Jews. And I told you the story of the exhibit coming to, King Tut exhibit coming, and the white woman calling the station and asking, well, why does he look black? I told you the story about the black Ethiopian Jew who was enlisted into service because it's mandatory that you be part of the service, the military, at least 2 years when you're in Egypt. When you're in Israel. In that book, as I told you, it was the first evidence that I had seen, had heard the stories of black people being Jewish. Certainly we knew about Sammy Davis Jr. Don't know really how he became to be Jewish. I don't know if he was born into it. But we knew Sammy Davis Jr. was a Jew. For the first time, I began to realize that all of the people in the Bible were actually black people. Every one of them. Especially in the Old Testament. How is it that you knew someone had leprosy? One of the early stages of leprosy is it does one thing to you. There are things when you do the research called intrinsic evidence and extrinsic evidence. Extrinsic means that it's right there. It shows you. You see it beyond a shadow of a doubt. Intrinsic evidence means that it's right there before you as well, but you have to kind of put two and two together. I'm about to give you an example. One of the early stages of leprosy, see, we get caught up in leprosy and we begin to believe that people lose their limbs and their extremities. And that does happen with extreme cases. But how did they know people had leprosy? Did they wait until people started losing their extremities before and started getting sores before they realized someone had leprosy? Before they, put them off in leprosy camps? Let me tell you how. In the early stages of leprosy, the disease bleaches your skin. Did you hear what I just said? In the early stages of leprosy, the disease will bleach your skin. That means that it will turn you white in spots. That's how early lepers were identified, is that your skin will begin to spot up. So if you had leprosy and you were white, how were you identified? You weren't. See, that's called intrinsic. There are other intrinsic evidence that shows the people in the Bible were black, which Dr. Rudolph Windsor points to in both From Babylon to Timbuktu and The Valley of the Dry Bones. Dr. Windsor goes on to ask, say the dry bones actually represent black people. And until black people realize who they are, those bones will not live. In other words, they will not come into who they really are. Woo! That's deep. He also shows pictures of the original Jews who are known as Philoshes. They were born in Ethiopia. Ethiopia today is the only Christian country in the entire continent of Africa. Now, there are parts of Mali, but I think Mali has also been overrun with Islam. It also told me about Muhammad. And I realized, how did Africa become predominantly Muslim? Was it by choice or was it by force? It was actually by force. In fact, the reason Ethiopia stayed Christian all of these centuries is because the Ethiopians refused to worship Allah or worship Islam. Because you do realize there are some Arab Christians and they call God Allah. No, they're not Muslim, they're Christian. But their name for God is Allah. But the Ethiopians decided that they were going to worship Jesus and refused to be converted to Islam. And many of the Arab countries waged war on Ethiopia and the white countries. That's why Ethiopia today is in such dire straits. It's because every country in Africa that was Islamic and Christian countries as well, because Haile Selassie said that he was a direct descendant of Jesus Christ, all of them waged war on Ethiopia. But the reason Ethiopia was able to stay firm is they would pretend to worship Islam during the day, but at night they would still pray to Jesus. So the original Jews, if you go by the Bible, comes from a land of Cush. Those people are Cushites. Cush today would be modern day Ethiopia. Y'all get that? Do y'all know that? So that's information that was brought to me, or brought to you, courtesy of The Valley of the Dry Bones by Dr. Rudolph Windsor, and From Babylon to Timbuktu by Dr. Rudolph Windsor. Do yourself a favor. I believe it starts in Deuteronomy chapter 28. There are 5 curses that God put on a chosen people. If you're a Christian, see, I believe part of the reason that churches refuse to teach the Old Testament is because white churches realize that the Old Testament is really a historical reference book. It tells you who those people are, it tells you where they lived, and it tells you where they came from. And when you go and you examine, because see, a lot of archaeologists, a lot of anthropologists, you know one of the main books they use as a reference book to do research? It's the Bible. They're not using it as a means to become religious. They're using it to trace family genealogy. Did y'all know that? So do yourself a favor and go out and read these 2 books. Now, the 2 books I want to talk about today. One of them is called The Black Presence in the Bible, Volume 1 and Volume 2. It is by Dr. Walter McCray. Let me just say that again. It's by Reverend Dr. Walter McCray. This is a Christian minister who wrote these books. It's 2 of them. It specifically tells you the black people in the Bible. You will be shocked. Both volumes are a must for historian and biblical scholar. Because see, you can't tell me you're Christian and you don't even know anything about these people. Each volume addresses the lineage and history of Hamitic and Semitic peoples and their evolution. You know who those are, right? 3 sons, Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, whom which many from the biblical perspective believe that's how people evolved. The Hamites were the dark-skinned or African people, the indigenous people. The Shemites were the Jewish people. And Japheth, those were the white people who migrated out of Africa. Hello. If there is any doubt as to who the people are in the Bible, then this book will quell that doubt. A must read and have for anyone who is serious about Christianity. Now, I wrote this synopsis. Man, this synopsis has got to be close to 25, 30 years old. Are you serious about Christianity? Well, if you are, then you ought to know who those people are. In fact, if you were, then you wouldn't be worshiping in a church that has a picture of a white Jesus on the wall. Because here's the irony behind that. You tell your children to grow up and be like Jesus. If he's a white man, how can your black male grow up and be like Jesus? He will never be a white man. Hello? You know, you would probably bring more children to Christ if they had an image of Christ that looked like them. Because that's what the Bible says he is. Feet like burnt brass, hair like lamb's wool. Hello? The other book I want you to read this week, or at least get in your library, is called They Came Before Columbus. You all have heard me refer to this book often. Okay? You all have heard me refer to this book often. It's by Dr. Ivan van Sertima. This book examines the travels of ancient Africans to the Americas long before Christopher Columbus was a gleam in his daddy's eye. This text counters all the misinformation given about the discovery of the Americas and who the initial dwellers were. Pay particular attention to the king of Mali and why he denounced his throne. Now, by now, you all know about Abu Bakari. I've talked about him a lot on the show. I've told you about how he, in fact, just 2 days ago, I talked about Abu Bakari, who was the king of Mali. By the way, Mali at the time was a Christian nation. This book, by the way, They Came Before Columbus was the first book I read. It blew me away. It started off talking about a damn bean pod. A bean pod that was indigenous to Africa, that somehow or another ended up in South America. Did it ride the waves, the current of the Atlantic Ocean, or did someone bring it to South America? I think historians and scholars now agree that maybe it was Abu Bakari who brought it to South America. They came before Columbus. And it's funny when all of these, and by the way, this book was published back in 1974, just to show you how much of this data has been out there that we've been ignoring. And see, this is why I said the other day that we in the black community, we have a responsibility to ourselves, and that responsibility is to make sure that our people know our history. That's why you heard me on the last show, and the sister, she was a positive sister, no doubt about it, Nakia, beautiful young lady. She was talking about, yes, she knows her ancestors came from slavery. And I wasn't being mean. I just needed to correct her thought process and tell her, no, your ancestors didn't come from slavery. Your ancestors were sold into slavery. They came from kings and queens. They came from master architects and builders. They came from doctors. They came from lawyers. They came from dentists. They came from scientists. These people were sold into slavery. That's why that story of Omar ibn Said is so important, because here was a man who at 22 was captured on the west coast of Africa and was a learned man who documented all of his years as a slave. That book now is being made available at the Library of Congress for all of us to see how vicious and peculiar the institution of slavery really was. So anyone who tries to argue that, oh, you don't need reparations, you're a damn fool and you're a damn lie, whether you're black or white. And we as our community, we must teach truth. Even if it might go against what we've been taught, what we've learned. I've told you over and over again that if we're going to be successful, we have to unlearn what was learned. And it begins with your children. So if you have a daycare, are you teaching black history every day? Are you having a black history moment every day? Because if you're not, you're doing those children a disservice. Don't tell me you're teaching them how to count. Don't tell me you're teaching them how to read, and if you're not teaching them black history, because all of that will go for naught if these young people grow up not feeling that they are worth something. And the only way that they can feel like they're worth something is that they understand their history. Not their slave history, but their world history. I'm on fire after they told me I don't have cancer. I'm still living. I'm still living. I don't mean to make light of that, but I am just so thrilled that I don't have cancer. And once again, I want to thank all of you for your good wishes, your good prayers. You prayed for me and didn't even know that I needed your prayers. Whether it was to Buddha, whether it was to Allah, or whether it was to Jesus Christ. It don't matter. Y'all got your prayers and they were answered. Now it's time to get to work. I got more work to do. The Creator said, oh, not yet, Dave. You got more work to do. The Creator said, not yet, Dave. You got more educating to do. The Creator said, not yet, Dave. There's a young black boy or a young black girl out there that needs your touch. And I'm ready to answer the call. I've got to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed the show. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. We're here every day, Monday through Friday on joynetradio.com. Reminder, no weekly sports magazine tomorrow and no Black Focus Radio Monday, because I'm going to be up in the mountains fishing. Y'all have a great day.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices.
Hey, y'all, thanks for joining me.
Weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on joynetradio.com.